Again, Leon Paul, head football coach, Lancaster High School. Man, my message to the team is we didn't take losses, we learned lessons. And every last one of those games taught us very valuable lessons that I'm grateful that we learned early and not later on. One lesson that we learned is that we could play with some of the toughest teams, not only in the state but in the country. North Crowley is one of the top teams in the country, and we went all the way to the fourth quarter, and that game could have went another way. But we also learned that if we self-inflict wounds, that sometimes you can't recover from it with a good team. So we have to stop hurting ourselves, and we got to start helping ourselves. We have to be more disciplined on the field, and we have to just stick to one another. And that's what that game taught us. When you go into a game like Alito, again, that taught us that we have championship caliber in this program. Alito is a championship team. They won back-to-back state championships in 5A, a level that we just came from. They have the same type of athletes that we have, and they play to win. And in that game, if our special teams was a little bit better, that game could have went either way. So that taught me and the team that we need to take special teams way more serious. And then the third game taught us that just because on paper we're supposed to win, that game nothing is guaranteed, and you have to prepare for every team like it is the best team. And Hebron is a great team, but we thought that we could have beat Hebron, and we end up losing because we didn't remain humble. So it was one of those things where you either humble yourself or you're gonna get humble, and those are valuable lessons to learn early in the season, so you don't have to learn later in the season when it really matters. They understood the mission. The mission was to never go 3-0. The mission was to play fast, play physical, and play tough, and play for 4 quarters. They understood that mission. Our goal is to play 16 games. Our goal wasn't to go 3-0, and they understood that when you play teams like we played, there's a possibility that you are 3-0, but there is also a possibility that you're 0-3. And the good thing about our kids is our kids aren't afraid to fail, because the best lessons are taught through failure. And we learned a lot of valuable lessons that now when it really matters, we're not making those same mistakes that we made weeks 1 through 3. All right, so first thing that was going through my mind, but before my daughters ran up, it was overtime again. In 2022, we lost to Frisco Reedy in overtime. In 2023, we lost to Forney the first time we played them in overtime. And then ultimately in the 4th round of 2023, we lost to Forney in double overtime. So it was one of our emphasis this spring to work on overtime, to make sure that we can execute in overtime. This summer, we worked on overtime. And coming into this fall, we worked on overtime. And it was just a joy that these guys learned valuable lessons from our defeats from the past seasons, and they executed in overtime. That was a proud moment for me, and I was wondering why. I asked God when I was shaking hands with Coach Ward, why you sending me to another overtime? I don't like overtime. And the answer is because now it's time for you to overcome it. Now you finally understand how it feels to lose. I'm not gonna let you feel that no more. And everything worked out in our favor, just like he says in his words. So it was a proud moment. I was proud of the team. And then when I saw my daughters, they looked at me like I was looking at my team. So when I looked at my daughters, they was looking at me like my daughters are proud of me. So it was a heartwarming moment on both sides of the fence, where I'm proud of my guys and I look at my daughters and they're proud of me. I just felt like a proud coach and a proud dad at the same time. It goes into the expectations, and those expectations start with the coaches. But before season started, I told our offensive coordinator, I need you to average 38 points a game. And 38 points, that's 5 touchdowns and a field goal. And I need you to average that per game. And with those expectations I gave him, he gave those expectations to his staff. And then from that, the staff had gave those expectations to the kid. And we let them know we don't have any excuses not to score points. We have everything that we need. We don't need nothing else. All we need is effort. And as long as you give us the effort, as long as you have confidence in these coaches, as long as you have confidence in the scheme, you shouldn't be able to stop. You shouldn't be able to be stopped. One of my main point of emphasis is I don't want to punt. And if I don't punt, that means that we're winning third downs and sometimes fourth downs. So, and we play the complementary football. We have a very good defense. So when our defense gets a stop, our defense expects us to score. So offense has to score. And the first game we started a little slow. We didn't score as many points as we would like. We got stopped twice in the red zone, which I wish we could take back, but it was supposed to happen. We hadn't fumbled the football since. But every game we're just getting better and better and better. It seems like our offense is clicking at the right time. I'm anxious. I'm anxious to see, are we going to stay hungry during this bye week, or are we going to get comfortable? So I've been making the environment very uncomfortable so nobody can get comfortable. We're still grinding. We're still lifting weights. We're still practicing like we have a game on Friday. And the only game that we're thinking about is Skyline. Skyline to us is the biggest game of the year because it has playoff implications, and Skyline has a good football team. And we're not going to go to sleep on Skyline. We learned that lesson when we played Hebron. And I don't want to learn the lesson the hard way ever again. I want to learn that lesson and mend our mistakes and take everybody as if they are the number one team in the state, and we have to beat them. First, me being the leader of this program, they have to see that I'm a humble man, and I am. I'm very humble. I'm very grateful for every opportunity that I've ever got in my life, and I like to remain humble. Like there's no win too big and there's no loss too big. Throughout the big wins and the big losses, I remain the same, and I make sure that I glorify God with however the outcome is. And I like to set that example because that's the example that they need to see, and that's who they need to become, because they got little brothers and sisters and cousins that's looking up to them, and they also have to be an example. And one of my favorite sayings is if you don't humble yourself, you're gonna get humbled. And when you get humbled, you're not gonna like it, because anytime you have a humbling circumstance in front of you, it's either gonna make you smile or it's gonna make you cry. And if you don't humble yourself, 9 times out of 10, it's gonna make you cry. So our main goal is to keep our kids humble and keep our kids hungry, and let them know that the job's not finished. Yes, we won 2 big games in district, but the job's not finished. Our goal is to win the district championship, and you can't do that with only 2 wins. Cameron McMillan, he's our center. He just got Offensive Player of the Week this past week. His job that he does, it goes unnoticed, because after the ball leaves his hand, all eyes go to the quarterback. But he has to snap the football. He has to make sure that the football is snapped right to the quarterback's hands. Because if that don't happen, the play is not ran. It's a disaster. And then he also has to have a guy, one or a nose right in his face that he has to block. And then after he blocks him, he has to climb up to a backer. A lot of times, there's a lot of teams that cross face. So he thinks that he's in the front side A, and then they cross face to the back side A. So he has to make all the calls at the line of scrimmage. He has to see all the blitzes. So he does a lot before the snap goes, and he also has to look at the play clock and make sure that we get the ball snapped in enough time. So he has a remarkable job, and he's been playing since a sophomore, but this is his season. He is not our biggest guy on the O-line, but he has the biggest heart. and he needs his flowers. And so I want to give it to him. Cam McMillan makes our offense work. So I'm proud of him. And he just keeps improving. He keeps improving in the weight room. He keeps improving on the offensive line. He keeps improving in his pass pro. And he's the reason why our running back has 14 touchdowns. Ooh. One of my biggest failures in life, man. I've had so many failures in life. And I'm grateful for all the failures that I had in my life. But I guess my biggest failure, man, I guess this is God telling me it's my time to tell my testimony. Biggest failure is I got evicted probably about my third or fourth year of coaching. And I got beside myself because everything was going so well. I was newly married, just had a new daughter, so I had 2 children at the time. And I felt like the world was in my hand. And I quickly got shown that it wasn't, and I had to humble myself, and I had to go and move my family to my wife's mother's house, and we stayed upstairs in her house. She had 2-story, and the part that we stayed upstairs, we all had to share a bathroom, and it was just a humbling moment. And it let me know that, you can't just talk about taking care of business. You have to take care of business. You can't just teach these young men how to handle business. You got to handle your own. And it also taught me that I'm nothing without him. And at that time, it was all about me. And I kind of forgot about him. And he quickly humbled me and showed me, no, you need me. And as soon as I surrendered to him, my life has been better ever since. So that failure taught me so much, and it told me I never want to go down that road again, so I'm never going to leave his side. Man, you can't be foolish being a head coach. In the book of Matthew, it talks about a foolish man trying to build his house on sand. And when you build your house on sand, the foundation is not strong. So if any storm comes, it's gonna crumble and wither away. But a wise man is gonna build his house on a rock or on concrete. So even when the storm comes, it can take the test of that storm, and it's still gonna stand strong because you built your house on a solid foundation. And when you have a program, you have to build it on a solid foundation. And our foundation is our faith. And that's why when people think because we're 1-4, our season's done, or we start out 0-3, our season's done, it never is, because our foundation that we're built on is so strong. And when we have a storm like 0-3 or 1-4, it don't break us. We're still standing strong, and the sun's gonna come up, and when the suns come up, we're gonna be ready for it, and we're gonna smile. Man, I'm feeling extremely blessed. Everything that I've ever asked for is happening in front of my eyes. It's very humbling. God is just good. He's good. Just got our new home. Got the home of our dreams. Me and my wife and our kids. All my kids got their own room and their own bathroom. In charge of a program like Lancaster. Like, I'm not worthy of this program. Like, there's no way that I should be the head coach of this program, but he said so it is. Got a family that loves me. I got athletes that respect me. I got athletes that allow me to lead them. A lot of coaches, are leaders, but they don't have the athletes that allow them to lead. So sometimes when they try to lead, it's like, you're going back and forth. It's never like that with these kids. These kids allow me to lead them. Whichever way I lead them, they follow, which is a blessing. Man, when I was growing up, I had a severe stuttering problem, and some doctors and all them, thought I had problems. I was in speech classes and classes where it wasn't a lot of kids, where all my friends was in the regular classes, and to be doing interviews and to be speaking in front of hundreds of kids every day, it's just a blessing. And what I thought was my weakness, he made my strength, and he used my weakness to spread his name, and that's why I glorify him all the time. That's why I'm just humble, to be able to have all of this by the age of 40. I don't take it for granted by any means. I try to treat everybody right. I try to live right. I'm not perfect, but I try to live as perfectly as I can, in according to his word. So I'm just grateful for 40 to be like this, because I have some friends that 40 is not like this too. Loyal. Loyal would be my one word. Reason why I would say loyal when it comes to the legacy of me being the head coach. I told Sadiq Muhammad when we was at Duncanville together, he was the secondary coach. He got passed up for the defensive coordinator 3 times. But I went to battle with him every day in practice, and I told him, I didn't know I was going to be here, but if I'm ever a head coach, bro, I'm going to make you my defensive coordinator. And as soon as I was a head coach, he was one of my first calls, and he came over here. He's one of my defensive coordinators, does a phenomenal job with my offensive coordinator, Jacoby Brown. And when we was at Duncanville, he was a freshman coach. He wasn't even on the varsity staff, but he was at every varsity meeting. He was at every varsity practice on Saturdays. He was always in the offensive meeting with us. He was always writing down everything we did at the varsity level. He did at our freshman level. That's why our freshman was undefeated. And I saw his work. And I told him, man, if I'm ever a head coach, I want to hire you, and I want you to come be my offensive coordinator. And as soon as I got this job, I called him up and, hey man, you here the keys. You're my offensive coordinator, and he's scoring. I want to say he averages 38 points in our 4 years being here together. So he does a phenomenal job with my assistant head coach, Kevin Whitley. Me and him grew up together. I'm talking about grew up like. We used to play football in the living rooms. I used to stand up and run. He was taller than me, so he had to, go on his knees and try to tackle me or whatever. So we grew up, and I told him, man, if I ever have a head coaching job wherever you are, I'm gonna come get you. And that's what I did. And with these kids, if I tell them I'm gonna do something, they know it's gonna get done. So I don't like to lie to people. I like to be loyal to people. So hopefully that's one of the words that comes up. When this legacy is over, somebody can always say, man, he was a loyal man. I would want them to say that I knew Christ. I want them to say that they got closer to Christ because of me, because they saw him through me. I want them to be able to say that I was still me, but I did my purpose on this earth. I want them to say I impacted them way beyond football. Football is just a sport that we play. It's fun and it teaches you lessons, but football isn't who you are. Hopefully what they've learned from this program helps them become who they're supposed to be. Helps them find their purpose way faster than others because they got a relationship. Man, here again with Top Athlete Sports. If you haven't tuned in or subscribed to his YouTube channel, what you waiting on? I don't understand. Anything that comes through our program, anything that you see, all the videos that you like to double tap, they go through him. Make sure you give him a follow. And make sure you give him a DM and say, hey man, come get me next. Again, Leon Paul, head football coach at Lancaster. See you next time. Man, for sure. Man, for sure. You got me with the question.